50 years had passed since New Bizun burned. The galaxy had become something no one expected. The Terran Protection Coalition now included 31 species. The old Galactic Concordat had fallen apart completely. Some of its members joined the coalition. Others retreated to forgotten corners of space. The elder races who once ruled through fear now whispered in shadows. Their power broken. Admiral Kong Myray commanded the coalition fleet. She was the granddaughter of Fleet Admiral Kong Jisu, who had passed away 10 years ago, surrounded by family and honored by 30 species. Myray wore her grandmother's medal every day. She carried the same fire in her heart. Ambassador Baek Junho represented humanity at the Galactic Assembly. His grandfather had designed the weapons that broke the Valkyrie, but Junho preferred words to weapons. He believed that building peace required as much courage as fighting wars. Elder Yun Hana was 97 years old now. She lived on New Bizun Memorial Station, which floated in orbit above the rebuilt colony. Below her, the cities that once burned now shone with light and life. Human and Valkyrie children played together in the same schools. Gardens grew where bombs had fallen. For 50 years, no species in the coalition had suffered civilian massacre. The line humanity drew had held, but the universe is vast, and darkness always finds a way. The Harrow came from beyond known space. They were not like other species. They did not want resources or territory. They wanted suffering. They consumed other civilizations not for food or power, but for pleasure. Their ships were black and twisted. Their voices broadcast screams of their victims as they attacked 3 civilizations beyond. Coalition space had already fallen to them. Billions dead. Entire cultures erased. Now the Harrow turned toward coalition territory. The Galactic Assembly met in emergency session. Representatives from 31 species argued for hours. Some wanted to abandon outer colonies and hide. Some demanded immediate total war. Some said the Harrow were too powerful to fight. Fear filled the chamber like poison. Admiral Kong Myray asked to speak. She walked to the center of the assembly carrying her grandmother's medal. She looked at the faces around her. Human faces. Kalori faces. Valkyrie faces. Even faces of species that had once been enemies. 50 years ago, my grandmother drew a line, she said. She was not a young woman full of hope. She was a grieving leader who had lost her son to cruelty. She could have chosen hate. She could have chosen endless revenge. Instead, she chose to build something. Myray held up the medal. This belonged to her. She wore it when she stood before the first coalition assembly. Do you know what she said that day? The chamber was silent. She said that humanity's strength was not in weapons alone. Our strength was in our choice to protect rather than destroy. Our strength was in offering hope to those who had none. Myray pointed at the Valkyrie delegation. 50 years ago, their ancestors had burned human children. Now they sat as equal partners in an alliance that protected them. Your grandparents killed ours, Myray said. We could have destroyed you completely. We chose not to. We chose to let your children prove they could be better than their ancestors. And they have been. She turned to face the full assembly. The Harrow want us to be afraid. They want us to break apart and run. They think we will abandon each other when things become difficult. Her voice rose. They are wrong. This coalition was built on one simple idea. The innocent deserve protection. All innocent beings, from all species, deserve safety from those who would harm them. That idea does not disappear when a stronger enemy appears. That idea is what we are. She drew her sword, the ceremonial blade that all coalition admirals carried. 50 years ago, humanity said civilization stops here. We drew a line and dared the galaxy to cross it. The line held because we were willing to fight for it. Now we must fight again. The vote was held. 29 species voted for war. 2 abstained but promised support. None voted against. For the first time in galactic history, 31 species went to war as one. Elder Yun Hana watched the fleet depart from the observation deck of New Bizun Memorial Station. Thousands of ships from dozens of worlds flew together toward the darkness. Human ships next to Velthari ships. Kalori warriors beside Morath soldiers. Former enemies united against a common threat. A young Velthari student approached her. He was part of an exchange program that had run for 43 years. He had grown up learning about New Bizen. He carried the weight of his ancestors' crimes every day. Elder Yun, he said quietly, I have studied the histories. I know what my people did to yours. I have seen the recordings. He hesitated. How did humanity find the strength to forgive us? Yunhana was silent for a long moment. She watched the stars and remembered a day 50 years ago when she had crawled from the ruins of a burning city. We did not forgive, she said finally. Forgiveness would mean forgetting, and we must never forget. What we did was different. We chose to believe that you are not your ancestors. We chose to give every generation a chance to be better. The student looked at the departing fleet. Do you think we can win against the Harrow? Yunhana smiled gently. We already have, the student frowned in confusion. The Harrow may destroy ships, she explained. They may burn worlds. They cannot destroy what we have built. 31 species standing together. Former enemies protecting each other's children. A galaxy that finally learned to say no more. She placed her weathered hand on the student's shoulder. That is humanity's gift to the stars. Not our weapons, not our anger. Our gift is the simple idea that cruelty does not have to win. That the innocent deserve protection. That it is possible to break the cycle of hate. Below them, New Bizen shone with lights from a dozen cultures. The memorial gardens bloomed with flowers from 31 worlds. Children of all species ran through streets that had once been filled with death. Your ancestors drew a line in blood and called it civilization, Yunhana said. We drew a different line. We said civilization starts here. Here is where cruelty ends. Here is where the strong protect the weak instead of hurting them. The last coalition ships disappeared into the distance, carrying hope toward the darkness. Whatever happens next, Yunhana whispered, we changed the galaxy. We proved that a better universe is possible, and that is a victory no enemy can ever take away. The stars burned eternal above a world that had died and been reborn, and humanity's line held strong. 2 years had passed since humanity drew its line. The galaxy had changed forever. The galactic concordat was breaking apart. Species that had stayed quiet for centuries now questioned everything. If humans could defeat the mighty Velthari, what else had they been told was impossible? What other lies had the elder races spread? President Wang Sora led the new Terran sovereignty from Earth. She was 50 years old with kind eyes and a sharp mind. She had been a teacher before entering politics. Now she carried the weight of 12 worlds on her shoulders. Her biggest problem was simple. Everyone was afraid of humanity now. Some species feared humans would attack them next. Others worried that angering humans would bring the same destruction that fell on the Velthari. The galaxy that once ignored humanity now watched every move they made. Admiral Park Do-yun commanded the border fleet. His job was to patrol the edges of human space and keep unwanted visitors away. Most days were quiet. Other species kept their distance, but not everyone stayed away. One morning, a small ship approached the border. It was old and damaged. It carried no weapons. When Park Do-yun scanned it, he found 12 passengers inside. They were Kalori, a species known for their blue skin and gentle nature. The Kalori had suffered under the Velthari for decades. They had lost 3 colony worlds to correction long before humans ever reached the stars. The galaxy had ignored their pain. Park Do-yun let them cross the border and brought them to Earth. Dr. Yunhana met the Kalori delegation. She was now the head of alien relations for the sovereignty. Her burns had healed, but the scars remained. A permanent reminder of new BUSAN. The Kalori leader was named Tello. He was old and walked with difficulty. His eyes held the same pain that Yunhana saw in every new Bisan survivor. We came to ask one question, Tello said. Your doctrine says you will protect human civilians. Will you protect others too? Yunhana did not answer immediately. She took Tello to the memorial on New Bizan, now rebuilt as a garden of remembrance. They walked together among flowers planted for each person who died. "We lost everything once," Yunhana said. "We know what it feels like when the galaxy looks away from your suffering." Tello nodded slowly. "Our people still remember our lost colonies. We teach our children about them. We never forget." "Neither do we," Yunhana replied. President Wang Sora called a meeting of all human leaders. The question Tello asked had no easy answer. Humanity could not protect the entire galaxy. Their fleet was strong but not unlimited. Their people were still healing from their own tragedy. Admiral Park Do-yun spoke first. "We built our strength to protect ourselves. If we try to protect everyone, we will fail. We will spread too thin. Our enemies will find weakness." Commander Shinyuna disagreed. "The Valkyrie attacked us because we were alone. Other species watched and did nothing because they knew they would be next if they helped. If we let that system continue, eventually someone will find a way to hurt us again." The debate continued for hours. Some wanted isolation. Some wanted expansion. Some wanted to build the largest fleet in history and threaten everyone. Dr. Yunhana waited until everyone else had spoken. Then she stood and faced the council. "When New Bizan burned, we asked the galaxy for help. No one came. We felt alone in a universe that did not care if we lived or died." She paused. "Do we want others to feel that same loneliness? Or do we want to build something different?" President Wang Sora made the final decision. Humanity would offer protection to any species that joined a new alliance. Not the weak, useless concordat that made speeches and did nothing. This would be different. Members would share military resources. They would defend each other completely. An attack on one would be an attack on all, but there was one absolute rule. Any member that attacked civilians of another species would be expelled immediately and face humanity's full power. "We are building a line," President Wang Sora announced. "A line that says cruelty is not acceptable. Massacre is not politics. The innocent deserve protection no matter what species they are." The Kalori joined first. Then came the Morath, a species that had hidden from the elder races for centuries. Then the Vinishi, the Oakland, and 7 others. Within 1 year, 12 species stood together. The old Concordat sent angry messages. They called humanity dangerous. They demanded the alliance dissolve. They threatened consequences. Humanity ignored them. On the anniversary of the Valkyrie surrender, something unexpected happened. A Valkyrie ship approached the border. It carried a single passenger, the former High Commander who had ordered the New Bizan Massacre. He surrendered himself for trial. The galaxy watched as humanity judged the one who had killed millions. Some expected torture. Some expected quick execution. The Valkyrie had shown no mercy to human children. Why should humans show mercy now? President Wang Sora ordered a fair trial. Evidence was presented. Witnesses spoke. The High Commander was allowed to defend himself. He was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. He would spend his remaining years on New Bizan, maintaining the memorial gardens, caring for the flowers planted for each victim. Some called it weakness. Others called it justice. Dr. Yunhana called it something else. "Monsters destroy," she said. "We choose to build. That is the difference between us and them. That is why our alliance will last while their empire crumbles." In the darkness between stars, other species watched humanity's example. They saw strength without cruelty. They saw justice without vengeance. They saw something new being born, and slowly, carefully, they began to believe that the galaxy could change. The Valkyrie homeworld was called Prime. It was a beautiful planet with silver cities and purple oceans. 100 billion Valkyrie lived there. They had ruled their empire for 10,000 years and never known defeat. On the morning of their celebration, the sky was clear and the people were happy. Parades filled the streets. Leaders gave speeches about Valkyrie strength and wisdom. Children waved flags and sang songs about their glorious history. No one looked up. At exactly 6 in the morning, Galactic Standard Time, 1,000 human warships appeared around Prime. They did not come through normal space travel. They used something new, something impossible. One moment the sky was empty. The next moment it was full of death. The Velthari defense grid had no time to activate. Their military commanders were still eating breakfast. Their warships were docked and unprepared. They had become so used to being the strongest that they forgot others could become strong too. Admiral Kangjisu broadcast her voice on every frequency in the system. Every radio, every screen, every communication device carried her words. 6 months ago, you taught us what the galaxy truly is. A place where the strong do as they wish and the weak suffer in silence. You showed us that civilization means nothing when faced with power. You were right. She paused. The Velthari listened in frozen terror. But you miscounted. You thought we were weak. You were wrong. The human fleet opened fire. Captain Park Do-yun commanded the Unforgotten from the center of the formation. His ship targeted the orbital defense platforms first. Giant beams of energy cut through Velthari stations like they were made of paper. In 20 minutes, Prime had no orbital defenses left, but humanity did not attack the cities. They did not kill civilians. They were not the VLT Hari. Instead, they destroyed military bases. They eliminated warship factories. They crushed every weapon platform and every army installation on the planet. The Velthari military, once the terror of the galaxy, disappeared in 4 hours. Then came the second phase. Sergeant No Yunji led the ground forces. She was 35 years old and had survived New Bison. She had lost her entire family that day. Her husband, her 2 sons, her parents. Everyone she loved had burned while she hid in a basement. Her soldiers landed in every major Velthari city. They did not fire on civilians. They did not burn buildings. Instead, they took control of every broadcast station, every communication center, every public screen. Then they showed the Velthari what they had done. Every screen on Prime displayed the same footage. Nubizan burning, children running through fire, mothers screaming for help that never came, Badas lying in streets that had once been full of laughter. The recording played on loop for 12 hours. Sergeant No Yunji stood in the central square of the capital city. Thousands of Velthari surrounded her, forced to watch the screens. You celebrated this, she said through speakers that carried her voice across the city. You called it correction. You laughed while our children died. The Velthari could not look away. Human soldiers made sure of that. Now you will watch. Now you will remember. Now you will understand what you did to us. By evening, the Velthari government surrendered completely. Their high command signed documents giving up all claims to military power. They agreed to pay for the reconstruction of New Bison. They agreed to punish those who ordered the massacre, but humanity was not finished. The Galactic Concordat sent emergency messages demanding that humans withdraw immediately. They threatened sanctions. They threatened military response from other species. They demanded that humanity behave in a civilized manner. Ambassador Minji responded with a single transmission that went to every species in the galaxy. For 2 million dead, you gave us silence. Now silence is all you will receive from us. Humanity officially left the Galactic Concordat that night. The 12 human colonies declared a new doctrine. They called it the Bison Doctrine. Admiral Kangjisu announced it herself. From this day forward, humanity stands alone. We will not attack others without cause. We will not seek empire or expansion. We ask only to be left in peace. She stared into the camera with eyes like ice. But if any species attacks human civilians again, there will be no warnings. There will be no negotiations. There will be no mercy. We will destroy not just your military, but your ability to ever threaten anyone again. She held up the pink shoe that Park Do-yun had given her. For this little girl and 2 million others, we make this promise. Civilization stops here. The old rules are dead. Cross this line and face extinction. The galaxy fell silent. On New Bison, now an empty graveyard world, automated machines began clearing rubble. Humanity would rebuild. They would plant gardens where children had died. They would build monuments that would stand for 1,000 years, and they would never, ever forget. 3 months passed after New Bisen burned. The galaxy watched humanity closely. They expected anger. They expected threats. They expected foolish attacks that would fail. Instead, humanity went quiet. Ambassador Ominji attended every Galactic Concordat meeting with red eyes and a soft voice. She spoke of grief. She spoke of healing. She thanked other species for their kind words. She never raised her voice. She never demanded revenge. The other species nodded with approval. The humans were finally learning how things worked. The young species was accepting its place. The Velthari ambassador even patted Ominji on the shoulder one day and told her that time heals all wounds. Oh, Minji smiled gently and agreed with him, but behind closed doors, something very different was happening, Commander. Shin Yuna worked in a secret base deep beneath the mountains of Mars. She was 42 years old and had spent her life in special operations. Her job was simple but huge. She was in charge of Project Stillwater. Every human colony had received the same secret orders. Stop all unnecessary communication with other species. Move all non-essential ships to hidden locations. Begin converting civilian factories to military production. Tell no one outside humanity. 2 million workers changed jobs overnight. Mining stations became weapon factories. Research labs began building things that had never existed before. Colony ships were stripped down and rebuilt as warships. Engineer Beak Taiho led the weapons development team. He was a quiet man who loved his work. Before New Bisen, he had designed machines for farming and construction. Now he designed machines for war. His team worked without sleep for months. They created kinetic accelerators that could punch holes through planets. They built bombs that could spread diseases designed to kill only Velthari. They made ships that moved faster and hit harder than anything in the galaxy. One night, Beak Taiho presented his work to Admiral Kang Jisu in a small room with no windows. These weapons can destroy the Velthari completely, he said. Every ship, every station, every colony. We could end them as a species. Admiral Kang studied the plans carefully. Her face showed no emotion. Can you make it hurt first? She asked. Beak Taiho was silent for a moment. Then he nodded. Back at the Concordat headquarters, Ambassador Ominji played her role perfectly. She cried during memorial ceremonies. She spoke of peace and understanding. She told everyone that humanity just needed time. Every night, she sent secret reports to Commander Shin Yuna. She listed which species supported the Velthari. She described the locations of enemy fleets. She noted which Concordat members were weak and which were strong. The Kelori species lost 3 colonies to the Velthari 50 years ago, she wrote one night. They still hate them. They may be useful later. The months passed. Human space became very quiet. Trade continued slowly. Diplomatic missions kept their schedules. Nothing seemed unusual. But inside the quiet, humanity was transforming. Park Do-yun, once a simple diplomatic captain, now commanded the largest warship humanity had ever built. They called it the Unforgotten. It was 3 kilometers long and carried weapons that could destroy a small moon. Its crew of 10,000 trained every day for one purpose. Park Do-yun kept the pink shoe in his quarters. He looked at it every morning. He remembered the smoke and the silence and the bodies of children lying in the streets. Dr. Yoon Hana recovered from her wounds and joined the Intelligence Division. Her knowledge of alien cultures made her valuable. She studied the Velthari every day. She learned their weaknesses. She found the cracks in their empire. They are arrogant, she reported. They believe we are too weak and too young to threaten them. They have forgotten that humans learned to fight long before we reached the stars. Commander Shin Yuna read every report and nodded with satisfaction. The plan was coming together. The 6-month mark, the Velthari announced celebrations across their empire. They called it the Anniversary of Correction. They gave speeches about maintaining order in the galaxy. They laughed about the weak humans who had accepted their punishment so quietly. In their arrogance, They did not notice the 1,000 ships gathering in the darkness between stars the night before the operation began. Ambassador O. Minji attended a diplomatic reception. The Velthari ambassador approached her with a drink in his hand. "Ambassador O," he said with a thin smile, "your people have shown such wonderful restraint. I am glad you finally understand your place in the galaxy." Oh, Minji looked up at the tall gray alien. She remembered New Bizun. She remembered the children. She remembered the families burning while this species celebrated. She smiled her gentle, practiced smile. "We understand perfectly," she said. In orbit above Earth, 1,000 warships completed their final checks. 10 million soldiers waited for orders. Weapons designed to end civilizations powered up for the first time. Admiral Kanjisu stood on her command ship and looked at the stars. "New Bizun," she whispered. "We are coming." The thunder was about to begin. The morning sun rose over New Bizun like it did every day. Children ran through the streets with laughter in their voices. Mothers called them home for breakfast. Fathers prepared for work. The colony world was home to 2,300,000 humans, and today was special. Today was the Harvest Festival. Park Do-yeon stood on the bridge of his ship, the TSS Eternal Spring, watching the planet from orbit. He smiled as he saw the colorful decorations covering the cities below. His own daughter lived down there with her grandmother. He would see them tonight after his patrol ended. The Velthari delegation had arrived 3 days ago to discuss trade. As a sign of trust, the planetary defense grid had been lowered. The tall, gray-skinned aliens walked through the festival with their guards, accepting gifts and bowing politely. Everything seemed peaceful. Dr. Yoon Hana worked in the main research center near the capital city. She studied alien cultures and languages. The Velthari fascinated her. They were an old species, thousands of years older than humanity. Their empire spread across 40 star systems. Humans had only been in space for 300 years. At exactly noon, the sky changed. 12 massive warships appeared from nowhere. They had been hiding, invisible, waiting. The Velthari vessels were black and shaped like knives. They moved into position over every major city on New Busan. Park Do-yeon shouted orders to his crew. His small diplomatic ship had no weapons strong enough to fight warships. He sent emergency signals to Earth to every human colony, to anyone who could hear. No one answered in time. The Velthari ships opened fire. But they did not shoot at military bases. They did not target the small defense stations. Instead, they aimed at schools, at hospitals, at the festival grounds where families had gathered to celebrate. Dr. Yoon Hana felt the ground shake as the first blast hit. She ran outside and saw fire falling from the sky. Buildings collapsed around her. She heard screaming everywhere. A mother ran past her, carrying a child whose face was covered in blood. The attack lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of death. 6 hours of burning cities and crying voices. The Velthari broadcast everything on all channels. They wanted the galaxy to see. They wanted humanity to know fear. When it ended, New Bizun was ash. Park Do-yeon brought his ship down through smoke and fire. He landed in what remained of the capital city. His legs shook as he walked through the ruins. There were no survivors in this area. Only silence and death. He found a small shoe lying in the rubble. A child's shoe, pink with white flowers. It was still warm. Park Do-yeon fell to his knees. He held the shoe to his chest and wept. Across the planet, Dr. Yoon Hana crawled out of a collapsed building. She had survived by hiding in a basement. Her arm was broken. Her face was burned. But she was alive. She walked through the dead city for hours. She counted batas. She closed the eyes of children who would never wake up. She found families still holding each other, frozen in their last embrace. The Velthari High Command sent a message to all human colonies. The voice was calm and cold. Humans have expanded too quickly. You have grown too bold. This is correction. Learn your place or face more correction. The galaxy responded with meetings. The Galactic Concordat, the alliance of 47 species that kept peace among the stars, formed a committee. They discussed sanctions. They wrote statements of concern. They did nothing. 1 month later, Admiral Kang Jasu stood before the Terran Coalition Council on Earth. She was 60 years old with gray hair and hard eyes. She had fought in 3 wars. She had lost her son at New Bizan. The council chamber was full. Every leader of every human colony was present, either in person or by hologram. They had been arguing for weeks. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted revenge. Admiral Kang placed a small object on the table. It was a child's shoe, pink with white flowers. Park Do-yun had given it to her. 2,300,000 people, she said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard every word. Children, mothers, fathers, grandparents, gone in 6 hours. She looked at the faces around her. She saw fear. She saw anger. She saw hopelessness. The Valkyrie call it correction. The Concordat calls it unfortunate. Other species tell us to be patient, to be civilized, to file complaints and wait for justice. She picked up the shoe and held it for all to see. This belonged to a little girl. We do not know her name. We will never know her name. She died in fire while the galaxy watched and did nothing. Admiral Kang walked to the center of the chamber. Her boots echoed on the floor. I have served humanity for 40 years. I believed in peace. I believed in cooperation. I believed that if we showed the galaxy we were civilized, they would treat us with respect. She paused. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was not. I was wrong. The galaxy does not respect the civilized. It respects the strong. It respects those who make others afraid. She turned to face the full council. They want us to mourn quietly and accept our place. They want us to learn helplessness. They want us to forget New Bisan. Her eyes burned with something beyond anger, something beyond grief. I say we teach them instead. I say we show them what humanity becomes when civilization fails us. I say we make them understand that some lines should never be crossed. The council chamber was silent. Then, one by one, every leader rose to their feet. Humanity had made its choice.